After 12 long years, they revealed themselves at my new mansion. What happened next was incredible. Jake Peterson stood at the grill, a triumphant smile on his face as he flipped burgers, the sun painting the sky a vivid orange. 12 long years of struggle, sweat, and sheer determination had brought him to this moment, his first neighborhood barbecue at the newly purchased mansion that towered behind him. Memories flashed through his mind. The whispers, the judgmental stares, and the pitying glances that haunted him during hard times. But today he was standing tall, proud of the handyman who had become a successful contractor, a beacon of hope for his young daughter and himself. As the scent of sizzling meat permeated the air, laughter from children echoed around the spacious backyard, a delightful symphony of summer joy that made his heart swell. He remembered the nights he lay awake, worrying about bills, fearing he would never rise above the struggles. But with every nail he hammered and every hour he toiled in the sun, he built not just homes but a life that was rich with possibility. Yet as he prepared for his neighborhood guests, a weight settled in his chest. Memories like shadows loomed. Those very people who had shunned him, who had doubted his potential, were walking toward him. Former friends and family members approached, the ghosts of his past roaming freely in the present. He felt their eyes on his mansion, a stark contrast to their memories of him, the man with nothing. Would they admit their regret? Was this curiosity, or did they hope to bring back the shame that clung to him like an unwanted coat? Around him his close-knit community rallied, the unwavering support from those who had seen him through the storms of life. They were the fabric of resilience and unity, reminding him that the strength to rise above adversity came not from the absence of struggle, but from facing it head-on. As laughter erupted and stories flowed, he remembered the nights when there was little comfort in his home. These neighbors stood firm beside him, living proof that being true to oneself was the ultimate victory. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the weight of everyone's gazes upon him. As night fell, he gathered his thoughts and mustered the courage to address the crowd. His voice quivered with emotion, echoing with vulnerability. He poured his heart out, sharing tales of how the scars of economic hardship had shaped him, how he had risen despite criticism and judgment. As he spoke, he could see the shifting looks among his former friends, curiosity morphing into introspection. But just as he felt the atmosphere shift, one of the former friends stepped forward, unearthing a secret that tied them all together, a revelation that had festered and remained buried in silence for years. Murmurs rippled through the gathering, emotions suddenly raw and unleashed. Would they recognize their shared humanity now? Or would the night close in with the weight of unresolved truths, leaving Jake standing alone, yet once again choked by the ghosts of his past? As the moonlight illuminated his mansion, he felt the tug of what lay ahead. Could the fragile bonds of friendship be rebuilt, or would they remain splintered forever? The crowd grew hushed as the tension filled the air like a heavy fog. Jake glanced at the familiar face stepping into the light of the patio, a face he once had countless memories with. David, his childhood friend, looked older, wearier, the years etched on his brow. Jake felt his heartbeat thunder in his chest. Would David bring judgment or understanding? I can't believe I'm standing here, David started, his voice faltering. I thought I'd never see you again. He paused, searching for the right words. Not after. He trailed off with a bittersweet laugh, but Jake could see the flicker of regret in his eyes. Things got rough for a while, Jake replied, his heart racing. But I made it, and I'm fulfilling a dream I didn't know I had. He took a step forward, emboldened by the warmth of the evening and the love surrounding him. I just wanted to prove that I could turn it all around. In that moment, before the fireworks began, David took a deep breath, steeling himself. I need to tell you something too, Jake, he said, his voice low but firm. The last time we spoke, I didn't believe in you. I didn't think you could change. And I was wrong. Murmurs of agreement surged through the crowd. Eyes darted among the familiar faces, some nodding, others shifting uncomfortably. This was the moment they faced their shared history, confronting the shadows together. Jake felt a mix of relief and vulnerability as he allowed the words to settle. "Thank you," Jake managed, tears prickling the corners of his eyes. "It wasn't just my struggle. So many of us were carrying burdens." He glanced at the gathering, seeing heads nodding in understanding. There was a flicker of hope igniting among the group, a seed taking root. Jake continued, "We've all battled our own demons and some of us even doubted each other. But here we are tonight, proving that rebuilding connection isn't impossible." Just then a voice piped up from the side, "But we've got to face the truth too, right? The things we did to each other, we have to clear the air." It was Lisa, another old neighbor, her face flushed with unyielding emotion. "I want us all to be honest about our pasts. It's the only way we can move forward together." The tension lifted slightly as more voices joined in. Confessions poured out amid laughter and tears, stories of jealousy, misunderstandings, and old grievances spilling forth like a dam breaking. As Jake stood among his neighbors, listening to hearts laid bare, he felt a weight lift. Maybe, just maybe, they could stitch their friendships back together, patching the torn fabric of their once tight-knit community. But just as he was about to speak again, the distant crackle of fireworks ignited the sky, scattering light across their faces. Cheers erupted, and Jake felt a rush of excitement. Amidst the flashes of color reflecting off hopeful faces, he sensed a change brewing not just in himself but within the crowd gathered. Could they truly leave their past behind? As the fireworks lit up the night, casting shadows beneath them, Jake felt a stir of determination. The real fireworks were not just in the sky, but in the promise of new beginnings. With the night air crackling with anticipation and emotion, Jake knew it was just the start. Would each person stand together to confront the ghosts of yesterday, or would unresolved pain pull them apart once more? As the last fireworks sparkled, the question lingered, hanging in the air like a challenge: what lay ahead for their newfound unity? The colorful sparks faded, but the energy lingered, buzzing in the air. Jake felt the warmth of shared courage and rekindled connections. They had faced their pasts together, but would they hold on to the new bonds they were forming? As the fireworks fizzled into the night, Lisa stepped forward again, her voice ringing out against the echoes of celebration. "Let us keep this going. We've opened our hearts. Let us put in the work now." The crowd quieted, her words resonating as everyone considered the weight of what had just been said. Jake could see the uncertainty hanging in their faces. Each person was grappling with their own ghosts while simultaneously feeling the glimmer of hope that maybe they could find solace in each other again. It was a heavy challenge, but one Jake felt they could tackle together. "Let us break it down," Jake suggested, impulsively stepping up to the center of the patio. He looked around at the crowd, searching for familiar eyes filled with both fear and longing. "We can't run from what happened before. But if we want to find peace, we need to hold each other accountable. Not just tonight but moving forward." A chorus of murmurs filled the air. Some were supportive. Others were hesitant, unsure of how to proceed. David stepped up closer, mirroring Jake's fiery spirit. "Yeah, we've got to have some tough talks. But we can do it. We owe it to ourselves and each other." A wave of agreement rippled through the group as they collectively recognized the importance of facing their pasts. It felt monumental and frightening. Those years of silence crumbled under the weight of their shared resolve. "I regret how I treated you, Jake," a voice came from the side. It was Carlos, another childhood friend who had drifted away. "To be honest, I didn't just doubt you. I didn't want to look at my own failures either." The crowd grew still, the honesty hitting everyone like a punch. Moments of painful memories nestled among laughter. They all remembered losing touch, forgetting how to lean on one another. Jake swallowed hard, feeling the shared emotions wash over him. "Yeah, I think we all have regrets. But here we are now. We can be the change we wish we had back then. Can you all feel that?" One by one, hands started to raise, voices began to blend together. And stories were shared, raw and real. Secrets spilled out, little betrayals, thoughts left unspoken, and apologies that had been bottled up for too long. With every story, the distance that once felt insurmountable shrank just a little bit more. Jake could feel the kinship growing again, as if they were weaving a new tapestry out of the threads of their collective history. Yet amidst the healing, a tremor of doubt still simmered underneath. Would this be enough? The air crackled again, not with fireworks but with the electricity of changed hearts. Lisa finally said, "The past doesn't define us. It's what we choose to do now that matters." Jake nodded, feeling the truth behind her words. "And it won't be easy. But together maybe we can create something beautiful." As the night lingered on, the conversations deepened, and souls intertwined like the stars above. Yet a thought nagged at Jake. They were pushing through the difficult, tearing down walls, but were they truly ready to embrace what lay ahead? And just as hope blossomed anew, a shadow flickered at the edge of the crowd, a reminder that some were still watching from the sidelines. Who else in the darkness was waiting to confront their own past, and would they be brave enough to step into the light as well? Jake scanned the edge of the crowd where the shadow lingered. Anxious fingers twisted in his pocket as the once warm energy felt prickly and uncertain. Could this person truly stand in the light? Curiosity was thick in the air, slicing through the newfound unity of the group. "Hey," Jake called out, his voice cutting through the tension. The crowd turned and the shadow shifted. A tall figure stepped forward, revealing a face collectively recognized but also foreign. It was Mia, their old friend, the one who had moved away without a word, leaving behind unanswered questions and a tangled web of shared history. "Hey," she said softly, her eyes darting from one familiar face to another. There was hesitation but also the flicker of something deeper, an understanding of both their shared past and her reluctant return. "Courageous of you to show up," David offered, making space for her. The way everyone's gazes focused on Mia spoke volumes. She could feel their past impressions, both fear and longing. "I didn't mean to hide," Mia ventured, her voice barely a whisper but gaining strength as she spoke. "Life just happened. But I've missed you all. I didn't know how to come back. I thought I was escaping my past, but I see now that running only made things harder." Jake felt a sting of familiarity in her words. He remembered the days when he thought the same, to run and forget. But watching Mia stand before them now, seeking healing, pulled at a heartstring deep within. "We search for each other, even when we're far apart," he said, the truth rolling off his tongue like the fireworks glow had moments earlier. "We are never lost if we decide to find our way back." Mia's shoulders relaxed, and the hesitant smiles of others began to lighten her burden. The air felt almost ethereal, charged with the promise of redemption. But even as the camaraderie blossomed, Jake could feel that nagging doubt creeping back in. Was their connection strong enough to last? Would they spiral back to the norm of silence, or would they choose to keep rising together? "Let us share our stories," Lisa encouraged, her voice ringing clear. "We've all kept secrets that kept us apart. Maybe if we share, we can set ourselves free." One by one they began to open up. Stories of loss, dreams broken, and hopes for the future filled the night air. Mia shared how her family had struggled after her father's accident, a dark place that made her feel more alone than ever. With every revelation, layers of understanding peeled away, revealing raw, vulnerable hearts beneath. "I always thought you were the brave one," she said, looking at Jake. "Now seeing all of us here, I realize that bravery isn't always about facing something alone. It's about leaning on one another." A ripple of agreement washed over the group. For a moment they were just friends piecing together a puzzle of shared pain and growth. But in the midst of their healing, Jake felt the tension shift again. It was in the way some turned their eyes away, unwilling to confront deeper truths. Who still wasn't ready to be vulnerable? Were there more shadows hiding in their corners, still too afraid to step into love and forgiveness? "Let us not just be a moment," Jake urged, feeling the urgency within him. "Let us be a movement. Let us promise ourselves to stand together, no matter what it takes." The crowd chimed in with murmurs of agreement, but Jake noticed a figure slipping away at the corner of his eye. Someone wasn't quite as ready as he had hoped. Who would break the cycle? As the conversations flowed, a wave of resolve coursed through Jake. They could create something beautiful together, but only if they had the courage to stand side by side. The question lingered in the air: who else would join them in this journey of healing? And what truths were still waiting to be uncovered? The atmosphere was electric as Mia made herself comfortable within their circle. There was an unspoken agreement that tonight would mark the beginning of something profound. Jake could feel it, the air thrummed with anticipation, as if the universe itself was urging them on. Mia took a breath, and for a moment, she was lost in a whirlwind of memories. "Do you remember that summer at the lake?" she asked, her eyes glinting like the stars above. Laughter erupted, the sound ringing out like music, drowning out the earlier hesitations. "Oh man, who could forget your terrible canoeing skills?" David chuckled, pointing at Mia playfully. "You nearly sank us all." "Yes. It was only against a rock," she shot back, grinning. Jake joined in, the warmth inside him blooming, bringing back that sense of belonging he thought he'd lost. But amid the jokes and smiles, Jake couldn't help but notice Kevin, standing a bit farther back. Kevin was quiet, his arms crossed as if guarding himself against the vulnerability the group was slipping into. "Hey Kevin," Jake called out, gauging his reaction. A shift in the air caught everyone's attention, turning eyes toward him. "You've been awfully quiet. What's on your mind?" Kevin hesitated, his face betraying a mix of conflict and fear. Finally he stepped forward, breaking away from the shadows. "I guess I don't know if I can share yet." His voice wavered under the weight of their gazes. "I've got things I've never said out loud, things that haunt me." The moment felt fragile, suspended. Mia leaned in, her expression supportive. "We're here for you, Kevin. You don't have to face your memories alone. We all have something we're scared of." Jake knew how hard it was to bare one's soul. He could still remember the night he'd told them about losing his job, the shame that had clung to him like a damp blanket. "You don't have to be brave to share," he offered, hoping to bridge the gap that had formed. "You just have to be ready." Kevin looked down, taking in the night's warmth, the faint scent of wood smoke in the air. "It's just I've always felt like I was the odd one out. Like I didn't belong." A murmur of understanding rippled through the crowd. Bits of quiet nodding. The shared experience of feeling overlooked was palpable. "You belong here," Jake said firmly, stepping closer as if to physically wrap Kevin in reassurance. "We need your voice. That's the whole point of our gathering, isn't it? Sharing our stories? Letting the light in?" After a long pause, the tension in Kevin's shoulders dropped a little. "Okay," he said softly, swallowing hard. "I'll try." An overwhelming urge to close the distance swept through Jake. He caught Mia's eye, and she was watching him intently, knowing the journey they were on. A small nod from her reminded him they were together in this. With Kevin finally allowing himself to be part of the narrative, the circle felt stronger, yet Jake could still sense apprehension lingering. There were still stories left unspoken, untold truths threatening to emerge. Just then, a shuffling noise rustled behind the crowd. Everyone turned to see a figure, Wendy, the last friend who had stayed on the fringes through it all. She wore a look of determination etched into her features. It was clear she wanted to speak, and suddenly the air felt taut once more. What would she reveal? Was she ready to step out of her own shadows, or would she remind the group of the pain that still lingered from their past? Jake's heart raced at the thought. The night was just beginning, and with each new revelation he felt hope intertwining with fear. Would they find the strength to confront the hidden wounds? Or would they keep allowing shadows to linger where light was meant to shine? Wendy took a deep breath, the weight of her silence pressing on her chest. Under the glow of the lanterns her silhouette seemed smaller, almost fragile. What was she about to say? "Hey everyone," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. The crowd leaned in, drawn closer, hoping for something profound. "I know I've been distant," she admitted, her eyes darting toward the ground. "I guess I always felt like I had to keep my struggles to myself." The group exchanged glances, an unspoken understanding flowing through them. Jake felt hopeful. "You're safe here, Wendy," he encouraged, wanting so badly for her to feel that connection, that freedom to be honest. Wendy nodded, the flicker of determination sparking in her gaze. "But what you don't know is I've been carrying something heavy for a long time. I lost my job last year. I've been trying to pick up the pieces since then." A gasp rippled through the group. This was new information, a fresh layer of vulnerability peeling back. The warmth of the evening felt like it was closing in around them, igniting an openness that had been dormant for so long. "I thought I could handle it, that I could push through alone. But it just became too much." Her fingers trembled as she spoke, and Jake could see the pain reflected in her eyes. "I started doubting myself. Was I ever good enough? Would anyone care?" "Of course we care," Mia interjected, her voice fierce yet tender. "You're part of us. You matter." Wendy's face softened. "I didn't know how to ask for help. Felt so shameful. And then, I guess I just disappeared." Jake felt a knot in his throat. He had been tempted to do the same during his struggles. We all have our battles, he said gently. Life is unfair sometimes, and it's easy to feel lost. But you're not alone in this. None of us are. Wendy's breath hitched, and tears threatened to spill from her eyes. I thought if I ignored it, it would go away. But it only grew darker. Her vulnerability was palpable, like a thread pulling everyone together. That's the thing about shadows, Jake said, his heart pounding. They only thrive in the dark. If we bring them into the light, they lose their power over us. When Wendy finally looked up, her eyes shimmered with resolve, a battle half won igniting a flame inside her. I want to try to be honest with myself and with all of you. Just then a palpable shift spread through the group. They were all in this together, perched at the edge of a new beginning. But before the sense of relief could settle in, a new sound broke through. A crack like thunder on the horizon. Everyone turned, hearts racing. Out from the tree stepped Chris, another friend, lost to time and circumstance. Shock colored the faces around the circle. I heard you guys were gathering, he said, catching his breath. I thought I might find you all here. The air thickened with confusion and surprise. How could he just show up like this? After all these years? Jake felt his stomach twist. Would Chris share his struggles too? Would he add to the warmth they were starting to build? Or would he reignite old wounds? As Chris took a step closer into the flickering light, Jake's heart pounded with questions. What secrets lay buried beneath the surface of their friendship? What would this reunion unravel? They had come together to heal, but would Chris's presence help or hinder their journey? The night was alive with possibility, and it felt like everything was about to change. The stillness that followed Chris's arrival was almost suffocating. Everyone exchanged uncertain glances, unsure of what to say or how to act. Jake could see Wendy's expression shift from relief to apprehension. The room was thick with unspoken words, a surreal blend of excitement and dread. Wow, it's been a while, Chris said, his voice shaky but laced with warmth. He stepped fully into the light, revealing the worn edges of a man who had seen his share of battles. The once bright sparkle in his eyes seemed dimmed by time. Yet there was a flicker maybe of hope? Mia broke the tension with a bright smile. Chris, it's so good to see you. Where have you been? Chris rubbed the back of his neck, glancing around the circle. It was like he was weighing the ghosts of the past against the faces in front of him. I moved back to town a few months ago. Just needed to figure some things out, I guess. Jake took a step closer to Chris, sensing the unease simmering beneath the surface. Things have changed a lot, man. We've been dealing with our own stuff. Wendy's gaze softened and she added, you can talk to us, Chris. We're all grappling with our demons. A silence fell again, heavier this time, filled with the shared understanding of struggles that had the power to engulf them. Chris's face twitched with a mix of vulnerability and fear. Honestly, I don't even really know where to start, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Start wherever you feel comfortable, Jake urged. We're here for you. As they stood in the glow of the lanterns, Chris shifted uncomfortably. When I left, I didn't fit in anymore. I thought leaving would help me find myself, but instead, I just lost touch with everyone. Wendy nodded, her heart aching for him. Isolation can feel safer, but it often just makes everything worse. I know that pain. Chris's brow furrowed. I saw how fast you all moved on. I thought you didn't need me anymore, you know? I didn't want to be the guy who fell behind. No one wanted that, Mia interjected with a gentle urgency. We care about you, Chris. You're part of our story whether you were here or not. Their supportive murmurs wrapped around him like a warm blanket. Small moments of connection began to bloom, breaking through the layers of doubt that Chris had built over the years. I'm scared, Chris finally admitted, his voice cracking. Scared of being back. Scared of facing what I've missed. Jake took a deep breath, remembering his own struggles. You're not alone in this. We all have faced our fears. We're doing it together now. The floodgates seemed to open for Chris. When I lost my job, it wasn't just about work. It felt like losing everything, my identity, my friends, my direction. I thought leaving was the answer, but now his voice trailed off as tears glistened in his eyes. Wendy took a step forward, her voice steady. It takes courage to come back, to reconnect after so long. You've already taken the first step by being here. As Chris processed their words, Jake could see hope flickering in his expression. But before the moment could settle, Chris's phone buzzed loudly in his pocket, cutting through the air like a knife. He hesitated, then answered it, his face paling as he listened. "Yeah, okay," he said, his voice trembling once again. "I'll be right there." Jake's heart dropped. What news had come through that thin line? Chris hung up, eyes wide. "I have to go. It's about my mom. She's in the hospital." The group erupted into worried murmurs, the connection they were just starting to build slipping into uncertainty again. "Wait. We're here for you," Mia shouted, panic rising in her voice. But Chris turned, urgency etched on his face. "I don't know if I can do this. I can't handle any more on my plate." The group stood frozen, caught in a moment of turmoil. Would this spark the conversations they needed, or shatter the tiny piece of hope they had started to forge? Jake felt a rush of energy, the instinct to act sweeping him up as Chris stepped back into the shadows of the tree line. "Don't leave us now. We've only just started to heal." But Chris was already fading away, doubt replacing the warmth of their reunion. The night was alive with confusion and fear, a collective heartbeat echoing through the silence as everyone stood at the fork in the road, waiting for a sign, waiting for Chris to turn back. Would he find his way back to the circle of support waiting for him? Or would he vanish again into the darkness? The moon hung low, casting a pale light on the clearing as Chris stepped through the trees, the weight of urgency pulling him further into the darkness. The others remained frozen, a mix of disbelief and concern etched on their faces. Jake rubbed the back of his neck, helplessness washing over him. "Should we follow him?" Mia's voice trembled, her heart catching. It felt wrong to let Chris slip away after all this time, yet he was so clearly on edge. "No," Jake said abruptly. "He needs space, but he also needs us." Wendy nodded, a spark of determination igniting in her eyes. "We can't let him forget we're here." "Not now." Jake turned, scanning the intimate circle formed by their friendship, years woven together by laughter, memories, and the inevitable heartbreak of life. "Let us go to the hospital. We can be there for him and his mom." Each nod was quiet but firm, a pact renewed in uncertainty. They quickly gathered their things, the air thick with urgency and a collective resolve that felt electric. As they drove to the small-town hospital, flashes of memories danced in Jake's mind, late-night talks, shared dreams, and the moments that defined their friendships. He glimpsed back at Mia, lost in thought, her brow furrowed in worry. "Do you think he'll let us in?" she asked, biting her lip. "He has to face us eventually," Jake replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "Even if he's scared, he'll need help. Just like we all do sometimes." Wendy glanced out the window, her heart a churning mix of hope and fear. "I just wish I could ease his pain. We've all struggled, but he's been alone for so long." Arriving at the hospital, they scrambled out of the car, their footsteps quickening as they approached the entrance. The fluorescent lights were harsh, but beneath them, their faces were determined. Inside, a nurse at the desk pointed them towards the waiting room. "Room 112. Just be prepared," she said softly, her eyes sympathetic. "It's a hard situation." As they approached room 112, Jake felt the hollow thrum of his heart, heavy with anxiety. What would they find behind that door? Would Chris be crushed under the weight of everything? Or would he be ready to lean on the support they'd offered only moments before? Wendy pushed the door open slowly. Chris stood at the side of the bed, his mom frail and ashen, the lines of her face drawn in pain. Seeing Chris there vulnerable and raw broke Jake's heart. The air was thick with emotions, like a storm ready to break. Chris turned at the sound and saw them. His eyes widened, flickering between gratitude and embarrassment. I didn't want you to come," he managed, voice caught between fear and relief. Mia stepped forward, her voice warm and steady. "We're here because we care, Chris. Whatever you need, we're not going anywhere." A swell of emotion washed over him, but he fought it back. "You don't get it. I can't do this. I can't be the one who needs saving again. None of us here are perfect. We all need saving sometimes. If we don't help one another, what's the point?" Jake interjected, stepping alongside Mia and Wendy, forming a united front. For a moment, they all stood together inside and outside the storm of Chris's worries. Then the walls he had built slowly began to crack. "I'm scared," Chris admitted, the words tumbling out as tears brimmed his eyes. "It's okay," Wendy whispered, stepping closer. "We're all scared. But facing those fears together is what helps us heal." Chris met Jake's gaze, vulnerable and open now, a flicker of what could be igniting within him. But just as the heaviness in the air seemed to lift, the door swung open, revealing a doctor somber and straight-backed. "Chris," the doctor said, "we need to talk about your mom's condition." The room fell silent. The collective breath they had all been holding tightened in their chests as fear slithered back in, weaving dark threads through their fragile moment of connection. What did the doctor have to say? Would everything they had just built come crashing down in an instant? The doctor stepped into the room, the fluorescent lights reflecting off his glasses, casting a slight glare. Chris's face went pale, the moment suddenly too real. The air seemed to thicken, pressing against everyone's chests as they braced for what was to come. "We've run some tests," the doctor began, his tone steady yet compassionate, like someone walking a tightrope of bad news. "Your mom's situation is serious. The cancer has progressed further than we anticipated." Chris flinched at each word, the doctor's voice echoing in his mind, each syllable amplifying the weight on his shoulders. He could feel Mia's hand reach out for his. It was warm, grounding him in reality, but the storm inside him only grew fiercer. "Is there anything we can do?" Jake's voice quivered, barely louder than a whisper. The three friends glued their eyes to Chris, hoping against hope that he wouldn't fall apart completely. The doctor sighed, glancing at the floor before continuing. "We can explore treatments, but we need to manage expectations. This isn't just about medical solutions. It's also about quality of life." Chris's breath hitched. "So you're saying there's no hope?" His voice cracked, vulnerability pouring out, spilling all the fears he had kept locked away. "No," the doctor corrected gently, "I'm saying we need to talk about what your mother wants. She deserves to have a say in her care." The room felt like it was closing in. Chris's mom stirred slightly in her bed, her frail hand clenching slightly around the sheets. It was like a silent plea, a message he needed to understand. Chris's heart raced. Would she want to fight? Or was she tired of the endless battle? He met her glassy eyes and his mother offered a weak smile, managing to convey decades of love and resilience in a single moment. But beneath that expression was fear, the same fear mirrored in his own eyes. "Mom," Chris started, his throat tight. It felt impossible to articulate everything he felt, everything that was at stake. "Sometimes it's okay to let go," she whispered, her voice barely audible but layered with emotions. "I fought long enough. But I want you to know no matter what happens, I will always be with you." Tears spilled silently down his cheeks, each drop heavy with regret and love. He had never wanted to be in this position. The pressure built inside him like a wildfire. Mia was there, her presence a comforting shield. While Jake stayed close enough to feel like a rock, they were all connected, drawing strength from one another. "Chris," Wendy said softly, "you don't have to navigate this alone. We'll be here for you and your mom every step." Chris took a shaky breath, feeling as if something was cracking within him. The walls he had built were crumbling, but something new was starting to rise from the wreckage. "I don't know how to be strong. I'm scared." "That's okay," Jake replied, holding Chris's gaze. "You don't have to be strong all the time. It's enough to just be human." The realization latched onto Chris like a lifeline. The fear was still there, but so was a sense of unease shifting into a more manageable weight. Then, as the doctor stepped back, the clock ticked in a softened silence, and Chris felt something crucial settle within him. Maybe he could face whatever lay ahead. Not just for his mom but for himself too. But just as hope flickered in the air, a distant sound reverberated through the hallway, a frantic voice, someone calling. The door swung open again, slamming against the wall, and a figure rushed in, wide-eyed and frantic. "Chris, you need to hear this, it's about your mom." The sudden urgency sent a fresh wave of adrenaline coursing through Chris. What could possibly have happened? The room hushed, all eyes on the newcomer as they braced themselves for the news to come. What revelation awaited them? And could it change everything? The figure that burst through the door was Sarah, a nurse from the ward. Her anxious expression cut through the somber atmosphere like a ray of urgency breaking the night. "Chris, you need to come with me. It's about your mom's test results." A collective gasp filled the room as Chris's heart raced. He exchanged frantic glances with Mia, Wendy and Jake, his support system morphing into a wall of collective hope and fear. "What's going on? What did the test show?" he asked, his throat tight and heavy. Sarah gestured for Chris to follow her, urging him to step outside of the room. "We just need to confirm some details quickly. Trust me." With one last look at his mother, Chris followed Sarah out into the sterile hallway. The fluorescent lights hummed above them, casting harsh shadows that felt like ghosts of doubt lurking just out of sight. "Is she going to be all right?" he asked. Desperation lanced through his words. "Let us just talk about the options first." "We've seen some promising signs," Sarah said, her voice low but reassuring. "We need your consent for a new treatment. Your mom's case could benefit from it." Chris's breath caught in his throat. New treatment? Why didn't the doctor mention this? There's been a change in her markers that opens up new options that we thought wouldn't be available, Sarah explained quickly as they rounded the corner. "Few agree this could make a huge difference." Time felt like it stopped as he processed her words. It felt like the weight of the world had lifted, offering him a glimmer of hope where there had only been despair moments before. Yes, of course I agree." The words spilled out, relief flooding his veins. Anything to give her a fighting chance. Sarah smiled a true smile, and for a moment in the chaos of the hospital, it grounded him in reality. "Good. I'll get a specialist to explain everything, and we'll see if we can get started today." Chris returned to his mother's side, and the panic from moments ago shifted into an energized anticipation. He looked in her eyes. There was still light there, a flicker of determination. "Mom, there might be a chance. They have a new treatment option." Her eyes widened, filled with the promise of hope. "Is it true?" she whispered, her voice trembling like a fragile leaf in an autumn breeze. "Yeah, it's true." His heart swelled, fear suddenly replaced with a fierce determination to fight for her. "We'll face this together." As he spoke, the others stepped into the room behind him, their faces lit with newfound hope mirrored in Chris's eyes. They had come here to support him, and now they could do so in a way that felt substantial, real. "Hey Chris," Wendy said gently while stepping forward. "We're all here for you and your mom, whatever you need." Mia's hand reached for Chris's shoulder, her warmth radiated strength. "You're not alone. We'll help each other through this. Just like we talked about." Jake stood by, his expression firm, embodying the spirit of solidarity in a moment that felt electric. "You've always been brave, Chris. Now more than ever we rally behind you." In the shared silence that followed, Chris felt the shadows receding, the connection between them shimmering like a beacon of resilience. Fear still lingered at the edges, but it felt manageable, challenged by the urgency of the moment and the bonds that had withstood the tests of time. Suddenly, the door swung open again, and the doctor re-entered with a fresh team of specialists. "All right, Chris. Let us discuss this new treatment. I believe it could have a significant impact based on the latest results." Chris nodded solemnly, his heart racing with a renewed sense of purpose. The team explained in clear, concise terms, and with every word, Chris felt his resolve strengthen. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about his mother, and the new opportunity for life coursing through their veins. As the discussion continued, Chris glanced over at his friends, each of them nodding in encouragement, affirming their presence. They had come together in a way he never thought possible, through pain, doubt, and uncertainty, but now intertwined in the promise of hope. Time blurred in that moment as they moved forward together, armed with determination to face whatever lay ahead. The doctor's voice, once muffled behind clouds of anxiety, became a melody of possibility. With the journey ahead still uncertain, they were ready to grasp the threads that could weave them closer together. And just outside the hospital walls, the world continued to spin, unaware that behind those doors, a profound transformation was taking place, not only for Chris and his mother, but for an entire circle of friends finding their way back to each other amid the trials of life. The darkness had receded, but the night was still young, alive with the promise of a new beginning. Let us not wait any longer. It's time to support each other like never before. You need to subscribe now to stay connected and inspired. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm with your positivity and support. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this incredible journey. Share instantly this story with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, let us keep this community growing stronger. Don't wait not even one more second.